All right, I'm sure a few more people will sign in as we get started, but we're going to go ahead and do that. Get started. My name is Stephen Campbell. I'm the Director of Admission for the Lamont School of Music, and I'm joined by my colleague who will introduce himself.
Yes, hi, my name is Alex Robinson. I'm the Assistant Director of Financial Aid. So Stephen and I, as Bill mentioned a lot further later, we're a team.
Yep. Alex and I are going to talk about the financial aid situation at DU and at Lamont. Please use the question and answer functionality at the bottom of your screen. Throw questions out throughout. Alex and I will flag some to answer live at the end. We hope to use probably the bulk of this time to answer your questions. So be thinking about those and throw them into the Q&A, and we'll get to those at the end. And I'm going to share my screen and we'll get going here. All right. So throw into the chat if you can't see this. We already said that who we are. So here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to go over the Lamont Letter first. There are a number of variations to the Lamont Letter, and so I'm going to show you kind of 3 of the most common. So if you don't see one that's exactly like yours, don't worry. I think a lot of it will apply. And if you have questions, again, throw them in the Q&A or shoot me an email. And I'm happy to talk about your specific situation at any point. So that's actually a good overall reminder. Alex and I are both happy to chat with you about your specific situation, but this kind of gives you an idea of the whole thing. And now I'm going to throw it over to Alex. He's going to talk about the DU financial aid letter. He'll also talk a little bit about the cost of attendance and what goes into that, what that means, the types of aid that are available. I'll take over there and I'll talk about calculating your costs. This is a big one. Every school is a little different, right? So just knowing the amount of your scholarship is only part of the equation. So we'll spend a little time on that. We'll talk a little bit about which office does what. I know that can get a little confusing, that there's an Office of Financial Aid, and then you're also working with me in the Office of Admission at Lamont. What's next? And then again, we'll go to your questions at that point. So the 3 types of letter I'd like to talk about for Lamont are a master's degree award that includes a graduate teaching assistantship, and then a certificate award. Now we have a ton of different certificates at Lamont. I'm going to focus on the graduate certificate in performance, which is our most popular. It's the most common one that many of you may be admitted to. So I'm going to flip over and we're going to look at. All right, can everyone see the Word document? Alex, I'll ask you. Can you see the Word document? Great. All right, so this is John. Now this decision is available on your application status page. So if you've logged into your application status page, you'll see an updated decision flag there at the top. You'll click that and you'll see this text. Of course, it's a little prettier online, but this is the meat and potatoes of it. That first paragraph tells you what you've been admitted to. The program. John here has been admitted to the Master of Music in Performance with an emphasis in trumpet. And then it tells you what quarter we're expecting you to start that program. So fall 2021. That is far and away the most common start term for our programs. That next paragraph is your scholarship amount. So you can see that John was awarded a scholarship of $20,000 per year. The rest of this letter is a lot of administrative steps that the Office of Graduate Education mostly handles. So it's, those final transcripts, the proof of degree, how you accept your offer, which you do online, by the way. You pay your tuition deposit. It tells you your student ID. And importantly, it tells you right here when you should accept your offer by, right? The deadline. We're not really dealing with that in this webinar since we're going to focus on financial aid, but I do want to shout that out. You'll see that on your decision letter. If you scroll down, all the way down your letter, this is where you'll see the additional scholarship details. Zoom in on this just a little bit. We're going to tell you how long we anticipate your program lasting. This is really important. So master's degrees are 2 years, and we are giving you aid for those 2 years. If it takes you longer than that, we're going to need to talk, right? You'll see in a minute, certificate programs are typically 1 year, and that's how long that aid is promised for. It will automatically renew, assuming you maintain your eligibility. We reference eligibility requirements in the Lamont Handbook and the University Financial Aid website. There is nothing super surprising there, right? Essentially, don't fail your classes, show up, enroll full-time, or enroll in the number of classes you need to enroll in for your program. There shouldn't be anything too surprising there. The next bit is the superhero reference. With this award comes great responsibility. Essentially, that's just that we're expecting you to be a role model to your peers. We're expecting you to perform, play in your ensembles. For you academic majors, the Master of Arts students, that part doesn't apply to you, but we're still expecting you to be role models to the rest of the graduate class and also the undergraduate class. And finally, we reiterate that response deadline, that April 15th response deadline. That's the date we want to hear from you. And after that date, your scholarship may be released if you haven't responded to us. So this is the master's kind of blanket award letter. This is the most common one. And so it stands to reason many of you will have gotten one that looks like this. One with a TA, slightly different. Mostly that second paragraph is where you'll see the change. So, same thing. John's been admitted to the Master of Music and Performance, emphasis in trumpet, fall 2021. The graduate teaching assistantship has scholarship and stipend. So you see, it says $20,000 per year and an annual stipend of $5,000. Included in the amount above is the GTA, the graduate teaching assistantship in brass. That is the aid that goes with the teaching assistantship. Sometimes I get a question of, oh, so does that mean that there's additional aid with the GTA? And no, that is the scholarship and stipend that comes with the TA. It also tells you how many hours we're expecting you to work per week in assignments beyond those required by your degree. The bulk of our TAs teach non-major lessons, so those 10 hours a week will be spent teaching a beginner on your instrument. Same stuff, that same boilerplate administrative stuff going down here, same response deadline. Really the only difference in the additional scholarship details section, again, you'll see the 2 years, is that your TA duties will be assigned by a specific professor. It's typically the department chair in your area. And it'll tell you, this is super important, and we'll talk a little bit more of this during the cost section. The stipend is not part of your financial aid package. It's not going to show up on your Pioneer Web financial aid line item description. It gets paid out via payroll. So you're actually doing work for this payment. And it gets paid out in 9 installments, the first of the month, 9 times throughout the year. So when we talk about costs, I'll show you kind of how I calculate that. But it's important to know that this isn't automatically deducted from your bill. That's the big takeaway. Finally, the certificate letter, also similar. Things I'd point out are that the certificate programs are offered at an automatic 50% off the master's rate. So it's half the cost per credit as the master's program. Happens automatically. You'll just see it show up at half the cost. You don't have to do anything special, but it's important to note as you're calculating your costs. Similarly, same stuff down here. Just note that it's a 1-year program instead of a 2-year program. Most of our certificates are 1-year programs. All right, I'm gonna go back to this. I know that was a lot of information, so I understand if that's going to be a part of a lot of the questions we get. So feel free to throw those in. I'm going to throw this over to Alex, who's going to talk a little bit about the university's financial aid award letter. Let's see, here we go.
Yes, thanks again, Stephen. And again, thank you out there for attending this session. I know I mentioned earlier that Stephen and I are a team. My office, we're such a team. And the reason being is because we collaborate to create this. So what I'm going to show you here are a couple main points. If you submit a FAFSA and you're admitted into Stephen's program, we will also send you one of these letters in addition to what you've received from Stephen. So key points from this letter, I have kind of bullet pointed them in color. Hopefully that looks good. But number 1, it shows you, hey, we're so happy that you're coming here. We're pleased. Please note that this is, it's assuming that you're enrolled in 8 credit hours per quarter. So at that top, it says, we're assuming that you're enrolled 8 credits per quarter as a graduate student. If that's not the case, reach out to us, and you would reach out to the financial aid office. If that's not the case, not to Stephen directly. Point number 2 shows direct cost. So these are costs that the university actually bills you for. The first one being tuition. So this is tuition based on 8 credit hours per quarter of enrollment. So ultimately 8 times 3, 32 for the year. Geez, that took me far too long. And then fees. And health insurance. So health insurance isn't required for you to take out through DU. A lot of graduate students do opt to use DU's health insurance, which is why we put it, we defaulted on the graduate side or on the direct cost side. But that ultimately could move over to the estimated indirect cost. All that to say, that is the total of your defaulted direct cost. So $39,465 graduate student taking 8 credits per year in a specific program. The majority of the programs that students enroll in. We can talk about certificates a little bit later if that comes up. And then bullet point number 3. So this is indirect cost. So you will also see these on your award offer that our office sends these out in addition to your direct costs. These are not costs that the University of Denver will bill you for. They are ultimately costs that are associated with being a graduate student. So we know you're gonna have to pay for housing. We know you're gonna have to pay for food. You're gonna have to purchase books, personal expenses. That can mean just going to the grocery store and picking up some deodorant or something. Transportation, if you're driving to school. And then average loan fees. So each loan does take out a fee. We factor that into the ultimate cost of attendance. So again, bullet point number 2, that's direct costs. Those are costs that the university will bill you for directly. Point number 3, those are other costs that are associated with being a student, with being a graduate student. And those two combined equal your cost of attendance, so your total cost of attendance. And then we move down to number 4. This is the section of the award offer that shows the graduate scholarship and waiver eligibility. So this is what I like to refer to as free money. It breaks it down per quarter because the university does bill quarterly. So you'll see a breakdown for fall, winter, spring. Some students take summer, which is why that's still a component on there. But your original award offer will have the default fall, winter, spring. And then it shows the total. So it's $20,000. Let's say this is just an estimate award. Point number 5 will show your student loan eligibility. So again, just by completing the FAFSA application, you will be eligible for $20,500 in federal student loans. Again, it's broken up just like the scholarships are. Between each term, so fall, winter, spring, and then it shows you the total at the end. And then we move down to point number 6. This shows what your estimated out-of-pocket cost will be, both if you just choose to accept the free money, the scholarship and waiver aid, or if you choose to accept loans as well, in addition to the aid, the free money. So that's number 6. You can see here that second point, the estimated direct cost with loans, is in parentheses. That means you'll receive a refund. This estimated student would receive a refund if they accepted loans and the scholarship that Stephen offered with being enrolled in 8 credit hours. And then I also wanted to highlight the federal work study program. So that's number 7. If you did indicate on the FAFSA application that you're interested in the work study program, we will let you know on this award letter if you were offered it. And we also put in the language that if you do choose to accept this, it's paid directly to you in the form of a paycheck. It's not something that's just going to be applied directly against your bill. So those are the main things you will receive when you receive an award offer from our office. So types of aid. Stephen, I'm covering this one, right? Yes. Okay. So types of aid, the Lamont Scholarship coming directly from Stephen. There are federal and state grants. These typically have been wheeled away from graduate students. So don't look for a Pell Grant because the government says, this isn't really coming. There are certain state grants that are still available for very specific programs. So please don't look for a federal Pell Grant, but these are grants that are certainly still offered to graduate students. Loans. For undergraduate, there's the direct Stafford loan, Parent Plus loan. For graduate students, which it sounds like the majority of the students here, this is the loan that you will get, $20,500 yearly just by completing the FAFSA. There's also Grad Plus loans, and there are private loans. And we do beg the question, are they bad? And that's something we can certainly, please put that into the chat in the Q&A if you have questions about that. Because we do know there's a narrative about loan borrowing and student loan debt in the nation that's heavily addressed right now. And then there's student employment. This is a fantastic program. Stephen can elaborate far more than I can about this. Typically, students work 10 to 20 hours a week. They're paid hourly, as I mentioned earlier, and it is such a fantastic way to gain some valuable work experience.
Alex knows that I love talking about work study because as a master's student in music, I had a work study award, and I worked at the Office of Academic Affairs and the concert office at the school I attended. And frankly, it was the first time that I realized that administration in a music school was a thing that people actually can get paid to do, which is great. And it kind of set me on the path I'm on now. But even if that isn't your story, it's awesome, right? To work and get paid in an industry that you are interested in being in. So even if you do end up going out and doing that full-time performing gig, it helps you to have worked in an admission office. We hire work studies in my office, for example, or in our PR office or concert production, work at the library, work at the box office. These are great opportunities for you to kind of explore different elements of the industry that you're looking to get into. I'd like to add 2 points specific to Lamont on these types of aid. I mean, the vast majority of your aid outside of that big loan that Alex mentioned comes from Lamont in your Lamont scholarship. The certificate programs, with the exception of the artist diploma, are not eligible for that big federal loan. They're not aid eligible. There are a number of reasons for that. One of them is that the performance certificate is only 12 credits. You have to have more credits than that at DU in order to be aid eligible. So that's one thing. Please know that private loans available because you're still enrolled in a program, a part-time program in this case. But that big $20,000 loan not available for certificate students. The other note is that graduate teaching assistantships, you can't double dip with work study. So you're either going to do TA and get paid through payroll and teach those non-major lessons by and large, or you're going to have work study. You can't have both. So those are the only 2 Lamont specific notes I'd like to add. Now, this is a huge deal, right? Calculating your costs. And the university put together this awesome spreadsheet that I'm going to actually bring up here. And I'm going to ask you, Alex, make sure you can see that. Alex, that came up? Great. So you can download this. And actually, I will grab the link and throw it in the chat right now so that you know where to find this. But you'll download the one for the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Science. That is the college that Lamont is a part of. So you'll download it. It looks like this. Let's do master students first. So you'll go to most programs. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here so y'all can see it, hopefully. It'll ask you what term you're going to start in. You're all fall 2020 or later, right? It's past fall 2020, so that's you. You pick fall quarter 2020 or later. Master students, you typically will take 25 credits a year. So it's actually a little bit higher than the cost of attendance that Alex showed you on the award letter. That's the typical default master's one. But our Master of Music students typically take 25. And it's going to vary from quarter to quarter. You'll see 8, 9, 8, like I have in this example, 9, 8, 8, 8, 9, 9, or 8, 8, 9. But that will vary, and you'll get billed per credit. So it does matter how many credits you enroll in each quarter because your bill will change depending on that enrollment level. So I've gone ahead and put in 8, 9, 8, pretty typical, 25 credits on the year. You'll see it calculates the annual cost and then splits up and shows you specifically how much tuition you're going to be billed each quarter based on your enrollment. It does the same thing with fees. You'll see that you need to click yes to a music student because music students get billed $95 a quarter for their music fee, consider this like a lab fee, right? This is upkeep for the practice rooms and ensemble rooms and all the beautiful facilities at Lamont, which I know many of you didn't get to see this year. And I hope you've taken advantage of our virtual tour, or that you visited before the pandemic, or hopefully maybe can come as restrictions start to lift. We hope, fingers crossed. So that will add up all of those fees for each quarter, and it'll show you that bill. You'll notice these two here. These are optional fees. This is a health insurance plan. You must have health insurance as a student at DU, but you don't have to use our health insurance. If you are still under your parents' plan or you have private insurance, you can use that as long as it satisfies the requirements. There's a waiver that you would fill out for that. If you don't have insurance or you would like to use DU's, click yes to this. You'll see it. They bill you twice, once in the fall, once in the spring, and that gives you the coverage. The health and counseling fee is $200 a quarter, again, optional. There's a number of, on this form, you can click that link, it'll take you to their website, and a number of wonderful services, including mental health counseling, right? Something that is so valuable to all of us. So that's something that you can decide to enroll in or not. I'll go back to no for now, so you can just see the tuition and fees. You'll add your scholarship. So that second line of your admit letter, that shows you that scholarship, put that in there, it'll spread it out. A note here, getting into the nitty gritty, right? So that's why you're all here, right? For the nitty gritty. Our aid does not adjust for your enrollment. So $20,000 a year is going to be split evenly over 3 quarters, no matter what. No matter if you enroll in 7 credits and then 10 credits, it won't adjust automatically. If you're in a situation where it's a huge change, like 7 to 10, for example, I can manually adjust the distribution of that aid, and I can smooth out your bill a little bit if you'd like me to do that. It is manual, so you just have to email me. But don't assume that if you enroll in 9, it'll automatically redistribute your $20,000 appropriately. So here, outside scholarships, if you have those, this is the big loan that Alex was talking about. So you can put that in, automatically calculates and spreads it out over 3 quarters, like Alex was saying. Oh, it made it into numbers, but that's the $20,500 loan. The plus loan would go up to the cost of attendance, so you could take that as well if you'd like, and it'll do the same thing, right? Oops, spread it out. All right, so here we've come to the other annual assistance. This is where I will typically put, when I fill this out for you, if we're going through this together about your specific situation, this is where I will typically put a GTA stipend, because I want you to see the overall package, right? The overall amount of aid that you're getting in your letter versus the overall costs. Again, it does not automatically deduct from your bill. So this is just so we can see everything. It will make this number, your estimated bill, look a little different because, again, it's going to pay out via payroll and not be deducted from your bill. So please be aware of that. I always highlight that when I fill this out for you. But that's a good way to see how that changes based on the aid you're receiving from us. So that is master's. Go through, play around with this. If you decide to come to DU and you're working with our wonderful advisor, Rachel Lim, to determine your enrollment every quarter, and you're seeing that you're a master's in conducting and you're actually going to have a much larger range, you're going to take 6 and then 11, put them in here and let's see how it looks, and you can really plan your year. Finally, let's look at music certificate. I mentioned on the award letter, certificate programs are automatically offered at 50%. This form automatically calculates it at that rate. So our graduate certificate in performance is 12 credits split evenly over 3 quarters, 4 credits a quarter. So I've gone ahead and put that in there, 4, 4, and 4. You'll see that it's calculating at that half rate. It's combining the music fee because this is a specific music certificate, so you don't have to worry about saying yes to being a music student. So that's all the same types of fees. You have those optional ones there. It's the same type of form. Put in your scholarship, automatically takes it from your bill, and then you can see what each quarter you would anticipate paying with the aid that you've been awarded. Another plug, another reminder that direct unsubsidized loan is not available for these certificate programs, with the exception of artist diploma. Private loans are, so you can put that in there, but that big unsub is not. So I know, again, that's a lot. We're dealing with a lot of variation, right, from person to person. We're dealing with a lot of programs, a lot of little forms to fill out, but please follow that link on the website. Download this for yourself, play around with it, please call me. I'd be happy to walk through this with each and every one of you and talk about your specific situation, because I know it is very unique, right? All right, we're gonna flip back over to, let's do this here. All right, back to the PowerPoint. So what office does what? This is actually much easier on the grad side, because the Office of Financial Aid for you is going to process that FAFSA if you fill it out, and package you with that loan, possibly work study. But I can be your first point of contact. So if you have questions about your aid in general, reach out to me. If it's something that Alex's office is better suited to answer, I will forward it on there. And you're welcome to just kind of make it streamlined like that. I mean, Alex has mentioned a couple of times, we really work closely together, his office and mine. And so you're not going to get lost in the shuffle. Start with me, and we'll make sure you get to the right place. Alex, anything you want to say about your office on this?
Yeah, Stephen, I do. And thank you for that, because you clarified a lot of things that I almost forgot about. But yeah, so the one thing I will say, I know I mentioned the enrollment adjustment form earlier. Whereas Stephen mentioned, it's not going to change your scholarship, but it ultimately could change the amount of aid that you ultimately are allowed to borrow. So please keep that in mind. We do offer, if you want us to know that you're taking 11 one term and 9 the next term, and you're borrowing up to your cost of attendance, fill out that form. But if you just want us to know it because you think it's going to change your scholarship, don't fill out that form. So disregard that there. And that form solely is for students that are borrowing a graduate plus loan up to their cost of attendance. So that's the only thing I want to add there, Stephen.
Yeah, so we know the number of credits that you're going to take. We know what your typical cost of attendance is, because we know that the master's program in performance is 50 credits every time, right? In fact, I will drop into the chat another link, because it is billed per credit. It's important to know how many credits you'll be taking in your program. And so on our areas of study page, you can click on your program and you'll see a more information place to go, and it will show you this great PDF of each set of your requirements and how many credits are required by your program. And so then you'll just multiply that by the cost of each credit. I see the questions are coming in, and many of them about that billing worksheet. We will get to those very soon. Very quickly, what's next? This is super easy. What's next is April 15th, guys. When you tell us whether or not you're going to attend DU, up till that time, you can call and email and talk and number crunch and consider all your offers from the various schools that you auditioned for, and determine which one is the best fit for you. Reach out to faculty if you haven't already, set up sample lessons, talk to current students. All of those things my office can help connect you to the right people. We want to make sure that you have everything you need to make a correct and accurate decision, right? You're going to be well taken care of it at the schools that you've been admitted to. And so you just want to make sure everything's clear as day before you sign on that line. All right, so let's get to these questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and let's see, Alex, I'm going to look over these, but were there any of those that you wanted to jump on right away? Let's see. Oh, you're muted, Alex.
And yeah, I am.
I'm sorry that
yes.
Just seeing now that you wanted me to zoom in on that. I can share these slides too with everybody afterwards. Okay. Alex, so do you want to say anything about who is given the financial aid award from your office, what it takes to generate that?
Absolutely. So once you complete the FAFSA application and you're admitted into the university by Stephen's office, as long as we're not requiring anything additional from you. So sometimes students are selected for something called federal verification, which would require us to ask for more documents from you. If that's not the case, after you submit a FAFSA and you're admitted into the university, you will get one of those 8 offers that I displayed from our office. And then please reach out if you have questions about it. But again, that 8 offer will breakdown per quarter and based on a set amount, so typically 8 that we are assuming you will be enrolled in.
So that may answer one of our questions about how you access the financial aid notification. Alex, will it be uploaded to Slate, or they get that via email or via mail?
It'll be uploaded electronically through Slate. Yeah, so that will be an email form.
Okay, so if you don't see it, it may be because you didn't fill FAFSA, or you're missing a documentation that their office is. Let's see here. Oh, you're muted again, Alex. I think we just automatically got muted, so that's on me.
Yeah, we did. I was just going to say I'm happy to put my information in the chat because there might be students that are thinking, they did complete that and they have been admitted and they still haven't received one.
Okay, that's great.
Need for that.
There's a question, excuse me, about if you didn't receive a GTA letter, right? If GTA wasn't included in your letter, does that mean you aren't able to take one of those positions? So we have a very limited number of those positions, and so we will offer them, and if they are turned down, we will re-award them. So if you didn't get one in the first, in that letter you received, but you are selected to have one later on, you'll hear from me right away. I'll update your letter online. I'll shoot you an email to say, hey, this has come your way, and I'll update everything so you'll know. So you are right now, if it hasn't been awarded, that's true. You would have seen it in your letter, but it doesn't mean it might not be awarded in the future. All right, so let's see. Employment opportunities outside of work study. Great question, Lauren, thanks for that. So one of the big employment opportunities is our Hire Musician service at the University of Denver Lamont School of Music. So the community members will call in and say, hey, I have this wedding going on and I need this string quartet or what have you. And our office, or the office within Lamont, will reach out and connect those community members with students. It's a faculty approved process. So you'll be put on that list. And it's a great way to pick up gig money and be connected, especially as you're kind of settling into Denver and you don't have all those connections right away. But of course, Lauren, a huge way our students make money outside of aid and on-campus employment is just doing what it is they love to do, going out and performing and gigging. I mean, we're kind of in a unique situation in that we are in the city of Denver. There really isn't another music school like us in Denver. So there are a lot of opportunities for our students. There are campus employment opportunities as well that don't require work study. Those are a little fewer and further between, but I will drop in the chat the campus employment link, and Lauren, you can check that out as well. Right, so the amount you see in your award letter is the extent of your Lamont scholarship. If anything changes on that number, again, I will let you know right away. It will not, well, certainly won't reduce, right? But if it increases, I would let you know right away. There's nothing you necessarily need to do there. Loans are the other option. And then of course, work study and on and off campus employment. So this is a great question. Private loans for international students. I can throw this to Alex too. We have a list of preferred lenders. My understanding is that for international students, if you don't have a U.S. citizen cosigner, most private loans are not available to you. There are a few, and maybe Alex, you can speak about this. That there were a few that were previously listed under the private lenders, and I think there have been some issues with those lenders, and so they've since been taken down. But there are lenders out there that will loan without a cosigner. We no longer include those references on our website, I believe. Is that right, Alex?
Yeah, Stephen, that's exactly right. So there have been some issues with those lenders. In the past, we've only had 2. At this point in time, just as Stephen alluded to, you will ultimately need to have a U.S. cosigner to secure a private loan as an international student.
There's a question here about the Newman Fellowship, similar to the GTA one. If you weren't awarded the Newman Fellowship, we have awarded that at this point. It has not been accepted at this point, and so if it is turned down, we'll go to the next person on our list. But yes, I mean, the Newman Fellowship would have been articulated in your letter if it was awarded to you. Okay. Aaron, the question about calculating the cost of tuition. I'm going to drop, I think, Aaron, you have my email address, but I'm going to drop my email address in the chat. Let's talk about that. I don't know. There are a number of those online, those cost sheets, because there's essentially one for each college and each area. And so it's one of the reasons we wanted to do this webinar was to kind of help focus all of you in on the correct resources, because it can get a little thorny out there with all of those grad programs at DU with their various requirements. So Aaron, shoot me an email and I'd love to chat a little more about that. Year-to-year tuition increases, good question. It was not a 22% increase in tuition last year. I think it was 2% last year, Alex. Maybe you have that number off the top of your head. But yeah, typically that 3 to 5 range is accurate. The last 2 years have been more in the 2 to 3 range.
That's exactly right.
Okay. When they release that information, it varies a bit, but I think they've been pretty consistently releasing it the fall before the increase. Incidentally, your aid will not automatically increase over the year to year, but we have a summer scholarship appeals process that we can go through when that time comes. So when that gets announced, reach out to me and we'll talk about your specific situation. Another question about graduate students receiving federal grants, or is it pretty uncommon? My sense is it's pretty uncommon. That's right, Alex?
It is. It's extremely uncommon. So I wouldn't rely on one. Those federal grants typically go to undergraduate students with very, very few exceptions to that rule.
Yeah. Work study grants. Alex, you had penciled in $5,000 for graduate work study. That's the default number, right, for grad students?
It is.
Okay. Yeah. So
if they work up to that, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's built in at that range, and you'll see it if it's awarded to you. You will see the amount on there. It won't be a mystery to you on your financial aid profile. All right. Let's see. Any others that we have missed? Alex, is there a good way for students to see which documentation they're missing, if any? Financial aid documentation, I mean.
Yes, so if you haven't deposited yet, I would recommend going to your graduation application status portal first. After depositing, everything goes through Pioneer Web. So that portal just goes away. So application status portal to begin. You'll be able to see that. If you have questions about it, call us in financial aid or email me, because I put my email in the chat.
Great. Oh, so Lauren, this is a great question about turning 26 as a student and then aging out of your parents' health insurance. Can you then take up the DU's health insurance during the middle of the year? So I will look up the answer to that question, Lauren. I mean, my understanding, right, is that you should be covered. They shouldn't be removing your insurance halfway through, right? So you would be eligible then to pick it up kind of without a gap in coverage with DU. But there's probably a process for that through the Health and Counseling Center. So I will look that up. And if I can find it during this webinar, I'll put it in. Otherwise, Lauren, I'll reach out to you separately. Let's see. A question about elaborate on the graduate portal. So you can access your graduate portal. I'm going to type it in. It's also in a bunch of emails. So pretty much any email you get from me will have a link to your application status page is another way we talk about it. There you go. It's in the chat now, gradadmission.du.edu/apply/status. That's also where you see your award letter from us. It's where you used to go and see if you were missing transcripts or recommendations. that's where you'd want to check out. And again, like Alex said, that is one that's totally worth calling the Office of Financial Aid about. And they'll be easily able to look you up and say, looks like you haven't submitted a FAFSA. That's really the key to getting into this. It hasn't come up in the Q&A. A common question is whether or not you could be considered for Lamont aid without the FAFSA. And the answer is yes, you can. There are a few endowed scholarships with us that do require the FAFSA. We need to see demonstrated need in order to award those endowed scholarships. But by and large, all of our aid is available to you without the FAFSA. It's really that big federal loan that can be so helpful to kind of bridge the gap and also help with living in some cases that you need the FAFSA in order to be eligible for. All right, folks, I think we got to everyone's questions. We'll give it just a couple more minutes if you have other ones you'd like to throw in there. Well, I'm going to throw this link into the chat, your question about insurance coverage. I haven't explored it super in depth related to your question specifically, but this is the area where you can learn a lot more about DU's health insurance coverage. All right, anything else out there? Alex, are there other frequently asked questions you think we should address that we haven't seen so far?
Not off the top of my head. I do know there's concerns about differential tuition based on enrollment, which Steve and I believe we covered quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to mention the Graduate Plus loan, if you do need to apply for living expenses, that will be through studentaid.gov. I'll put this in the chat as well.
Yeah, that's great. That's a good resource.
Other than that, you have me as a contact, you have Stephen as a contact.
Okay, there are two more in there, Alex, both more directed toward your office about finding where the documentation is. So Lauren, that was on your student status page. That's the link just a little bit up, gradadmissions.du.edu/apply/status. Alex, do you want to speak to the turnaround?
Yes, I do. I keep muting while I'm reading.
You have such good
Lauren,
Zoom etiquette.
For asking that. So you didn't catch the answer about finding what documentation you're missing. Did you say that you need to put down a deposit first? No, I did not. I said that deposits or the missing documents information typically fall into Pioneer Web after you deposit, but beforehand you should be able to see it in your application status portal. That is the case for undergraduate students. I know for a fact.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like it might not be the case for you in the graduate program. So maybe you can see it through. And this is why I also asked you to reach out to me. It sounds like you might go, if you're unable to see it in your application status portal, then go to Pioneer Web for that. So I might have misspoken there, but you certainly do not need to deposit before you can see what missing requirements are out there.
Yeah, we definitely, like I mentioned before, we want you to have all the information before you deposit, right? There's nothing that, we don't want you to have any surprises once you've decided to attend DU. Alex, what about the turnaround in terms of how long it takes after someone has been admitted and someone has submitted the FAFSA? About how long can they expect to wait before they get a notification from your office? I know it probably varies, but maybe you can give an idea.
It does vary. And we try to send out communication as best as we can from our office, because if a student submits all of their information during priority deadline, you're super eager, they're more responsible possibly, or just have more time, then that offer letter might come quite a bit later than a student who kind of waited until the end to submit that. So it certainly varies. For next year, starting in the fall, if you have submitted everything and you have not received an offer letter at this point in time, then reach out to me, because it certainly should be here by now. The turnaround time, but it just as Stephen mentioned, it varies based on when you submitted documents.
Yeah, and I give it some time, because you know, they don't typically package those until you are officially admitted. And remember, we just officially admitted all of you last week. So depending on their workload, it may be a week, couple weeks if you've done the FAFSA and you've been admitted, to see all of that show up. And Pioneer Web will be probably the most up-to-date place to look, right? As soon as you put that in, it takes about 24 hours to show up for the student, typically. So keep an eye on that. And again, if it, you know, a week from now you still haven't heard it, we will not be annoyed if you reach out to us and say, hey, what's going on? I'm waiting for that, you know, that loan to come through. Am I missing anything? We won't be annoyed. You can start with me, or you can reach out to Alex. We'll investigate it and make sure you're not missing anything, and try and give you a good estimate for when you can expect those things. Hey, these are really great questions, folks. Really good. All right. Well, we'll do the 1 minute wait. See if anybody else has any burning questions that they just haven't had the nerve to ask, or, you know, it's coming up late. And, you know, we'll use this opportunity. We've said it a bunch. We're going to sound like a broken record, but if you wake up in the middle of the night tonight, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot to ask that one question. I've been thinking about it. So you can definitely shoot us an email, and we are here to help. Let's see. Yes, great. Oh, that's a great question. Is there a school email we should be aware of, or can we use the one for applications? So right now, up to the moment you deposit, right, the moment you, in fact, even over the summer, we'll probably use a combination of your personal and your DU email address. We will be using your application email address to contact you. So the one that you put on your application, that is the one that my office will be using to reach out to you. Once you become a student at DU, that'll flip, and they'll start using only the @du.edu email address. But yeah, the one that you've received emails from me on up till now, that's the one we will continue to be using, whichever one you put on your application. That's the same with you, right, Alex? You'll be using the application email. Okay. Great. All right, because our emails have kind of now risen up the chat, I'm going to throw mine in again.
Yes, and let me go ahead and do the same. I think we have one more about receiving it or submitting their FAFSA application, but yet not receiving an award. So that would be a case where you email me directly.
Again, Lauren, I think that was you that second time. I'd say give it another week, given that you were all so recently admitted, and you know the Office of Financial Aid is churning those out for grads and undergrads, and there are ebbs and flows, right? So if it's a busy time, it may take a little longer, but I'd say wait till the end of this week. If you haven't gotten it yet, email Alex on a week from today, next Monday. We'll be able to figure this out for you. Great. Hey, well, thank you all so much for tuning in to this. I hope it was helpful. I know there is a ton of information, like you said, there's a lot of detail. And there's so many of you are enrolled or admitted to different programs. So once again, shoot us emails if you have questions. You guys have asked really great ones, so I think we've really managed to hit a lot of the most frequently asked questions. We're recording this webinar that we will send out. We'll post to our YouTube channel. So if you're trying to remember what we said and you don't want to email us, you can certainly go on and look for it. But once again, this time of year, this is what we're doing. We're here to answer your questions and make sure everything's clear. And it's a big decision that you're all making. It's been a bit since I made my master's in music decision, but it's that huge decision that you don't want to take lightly. So we want to be here to help you gather all that information. Any parting words, Alex, before we call this one?
No, but to your point as well, we feel the exact same. Again, Stephen in our office, Financial Aid, we're a partnership. So, you know, if you start in our office and we don't know the answer, we'll send it to Stephen, and vice versa, he'll do the same. So please don't feel, just completely stunned on and feel like you need to know exactly who to send a question to, because ultimately send it to either of us. Thank you.
Awesome. Oh, Alex, you wrote your email in it looks like it went to the panelists and not to the attendees. We just got to know about that.
Oh, yes. Yes. Let's see. All right.
All right. There you go. It's in there. Grab that. All right. Well, hey, have a lovely rest of your Monday evening and the rest of your week. We look forward to hearing from all of you with your specific questions, and best of luck on this big decision-making process. We're here for you along the way. See you all.